Welcome to Talladega Super Speedway from our HSR Money Racing. Can't believe I about stumbled over my words there. I'm going to pull up some quick track facts, but tonight I'm joined by Dylan McDonald from Court Racing Network in the booth, so my throat will hopefully not be dead by the end of this race. Just point up some track facts there. Talladega Super Speedway, of course, a little bit different than Daytona, definitely a little bit wider, but it is known for the big one. Hopefully we will not see that here tonight because that will be very bad for those guys. If somebody just play? No, I'm not playing that. I don't even know what that song is. I'm not getting copyrighted. But Dylan, what do you expect to see here tonight at Talladega?
Hopefully, a little bit of patience, but also a little bit of aggressiveness as well. Talladega, we all know it's super wide. You can get away with a lot of stuff, but it's just putting your truck in the right place at the right time. You don't want to take it three wide right off the bat, maybe later in the run. But as of right now, if I were in this race actually racing, I would want to be a little bit more cautious of the people around me and just take my time. I mean, you got 50 laps, might as well do what you can to work your way up to the front patiently, but not go above your limits as what these trucks and what other people can do.
Yeah, these drivers do have one faster pair, of course. They don't want to use that early on. They want to kind of save it to the end. It's really optimal to not use it because you don't want to be in a wreck. You kind of want to be able to avoid everything. Looks like drivers have gotten done with their qualifying now. So I will pull up the starting grid. Well, there it goes. So first is Garrett Maines, no surprise on that. Matthew Baker second, Alex Hill third, Autumn Koger fourth, David Stryker fifth, Jason D. Maines sixth, Austin Green seventh, J.R. Miller eighth, Ron Morris Jr. ninth, 10th is Kerry Whitaker 11th, Kenneth McCulloch Jr. 12th, Danny Eshelman 13th is Dalton Randolph, 14th is Brian Bassett, 15th is Larry McDonald, 16th Jeff Merck, 17th Andrew Santo. I believe that is race control tonight, so these drivers will move up one position. Ambrose Canevo will be 17th. Michael Skeely will be 18th in the race. I believe that's all the drivers tonight. Some of them didn't qualify. Super speedways, you kind of can get away with that because it's really a draft heavy track. So drivers just want to be stuck with somebody else with them. You don't want to be out there all alone because they can hang out to dry, is what they would call that, and you do not want that to happen to you at all.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially, if we have this race go green, you got to make sure you have a lot of like maybe 5 to 6 people go in with you into pit road. Because if you take one or two with you, you might be left out to dry. Just got to take your time getting into pit road, staggering yourself so you don't run over the guy in front of you. So you definitely want to have some good people on your side to go into pit road with, so that way you're not, like you said, stranded out to dry. And I think that could be the biggest achiever right there is, getting in and out of pit road flawlessly. Having people with you as well could also help your chances at getting the race win here tonight as well.
And one thing that is kind of a known thing here, Jason and Garrett, that's father-son duo. They work with Matthew Baker, and I believe that's the only other driver in here that they normally work with. Garrett and Jason are always up in the front, so you'll be expecting to see these guys pick their way through the pack as drivers have now loaded in. I'll give them all a paints refresh just to make sure that the one that they are running is actually showing. Looks like you got some drivers who are running two stamped cars. That gets a little bit confusing with the car number, but they're getting ready to roll off here. 50 laps, a little bit shorter than what is normally done here. They normally go about 55 to 60 sometimes, but just decide to make it a little bit of a shorter race, which isn't a bad thing. Kind of everybody still has the same chance. I believe they'll go about they've been going on it about 15 to 19 laps on fuel, and they'll have to come down pit road. Pit road can be a little bit of a treacherous place. Everybody's trying to get in there, trying to get really deep. The first caution you won't, or first pit, you won't hopefully see a lot of people getting there aggressive, but I know that after the second one, drivers have the ability inside of their vehicle to change the brake bias, and when you toy with that brake bias, that really moves the brakes to the front or the rear, just gets some more power. And if you put them too much to the rear, that will shoot your truck around, or it won't even stop at all, but you'll see drivers mess with that, trying to get it as deep as they can, and that's where some issues can happen. Wrecks will happen because of that, people just locking them up, people not being able to slow down in time, but hopefully that will not be an occurrence here tonight.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, for me being a racer and a broadcaster, Bryce, I'm pretty sure you're the same way. On a longer run, depending on what track, like let's say Talladega, you want that rear brake if the long run goes on. But me personally, I don't mess with the brake bites. I just want to leave it right where it is and just use my foot, acting like there's an egg underneath my brake pedal. Don't want to just smack on the brake just a little bit. Kind of want to ease it in there. Downshift when you need to. You don't want to downshift too quick, because then you'll end up getting the wheel hop, end up going around as well. So you definitely want to take your time, be patient, getting into pit road, stagger yourself. That is a big thing you want to really do, so way you don't run into somebody, hit your brakes a little bit too hard, and run and end up turning your truck and hitting somebody else.
Yeah, if you take out another driver, that driver is bound to be a little bit furious at you, and I would not blame them at all, as I need to change the size. It's a little bit too small. I don't know why it wants to keep going back to that, but I'll actually have this done literally like now, because SDK is pretty easy to work with. But Pace Truck is going to pull off. Matthew Baker and Garrett Maines make up the top row. The 7 of Alex Hill and Autumn Kroger. Second row, the 24 and the 18 are the third row. Talladega has a super long restart zone. You have to wait forever. You just want to keep going, but you can't just quite yet. That's just one thing about this track. You want to get going, but you have to wait forever on here. But they're getting to the restart zone. They enter the restart zone, or start zone here. Green flags underway here at Talladega for more HSR money racing. Everybody gets off pretty clean. One thing I'll be looking for is the kind of formation of that outside lane. Is what we'll see, that middle lane really. Drivers like to run that, and they can get going if you get going in the right spot, especially. They'll start rolling that for sure. They'll just have to see if they can get it going here tonight.
Oh yeah, for sure. And every time that I've ever done a super speedway race, it's always a bottom feeding track. I like being on the high side, by the wall, in the middle. So maybe we can see possibly 3 lines work very well. Maybe the outside might have the advantage. But so far, it looks like the inside is the way to go on lap number 1. But as you get more trucks to the inside, you're going to see a lot more checking up. So definitely want to be in the right place at the right time and not have to worry about checking up too much to where you leave a little bit of a gap and somebody can shoot that gap and get in between you and that truck.
One thing that kind of is a little bit of a common factor, I'm trying to bounce out the sound here, drivers, they start kind of wandering off that bottom just a little bit, not a lot, but you'll see them kind of tiptoe around. And once that rear end steps out, the driver behind them can't really check up in time, and they just make slight contact with them. And that sends that truck behind them immediately around, and hopefully that's not something that's a common thing, but that will happen. You'll see them maybe once the tires start getting wore off a little bit more, they'll start to kind of move up and down the track, but right now it's not going to be shown quite just yet here.
Yeah, I mean, we just seen Danny Eschleman actually just took the lead from Garrett Maines, running that high side, got clear of Garrett Maines at the number 31, able to slide down in front of him, and now he's leading the inside train. Now we got the 60, it looks like, in the back. He went from the bottom to the top. So maybe the momentum's starting to shift. Maybe they see that the top's getting that little bit of a run, or they're getting a good run on the inside, don't want to check up and just take that run that they have, bounce to the outside, catch up to that lead pack on the outside, and just continue their momentum. So far, it looks like the 60 actually lost a position, and now he's probably going to lose more if he doesn't get back to the inside.
Yeah, drivers, you kind of want to... You can kind of move around, but you want to get in line with somebody. You cannot run alone at this track, and they have... I mean, everybody knows that, but some drivers will still try it every now and then, and sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't, but you'll see guys basically like this. Some guys might decide to stick it 3 wide. Some guys really won't do it. They'll be like, every now and then, but then most of them, they'll just back out of it as soon as they see that it's a little bit too much for them, and that is a too early of a move, especially only 3 laps into this race.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You always got to have in the back of your mind, when is it a good time to make this move? When is it a good time to not be patient anymore? The 04 actually just got a really good run, checked up, had enough time to check up, but now he's going to start making that outside move up by the wall, see if that can work. But it looks like the 04 and the 60 actually got together there, able to save it, get it back up onto the track, and that could have been a wild ride for the number 04 with the number 60. But able to keep it clean going into turn number 3 and 4, and now the 60 is going to try to catch back up to the number 6 truck.
Yeah, I thought that those guys were going to go around. Luckily, they were able to keep under him. And the trucks, you can handle them a little bit better than some of the other vehicles. Looks like he only really has right side damage. Luckily, kind of just more paint, anything that was scraped off, but he needs to tuck back in as soon as he can. Looks like he'll tuck in behind the 11 of Michael Skeeley there. Some drivers will stay in the back. Some drivers will stay in the front. Some drivers kind of want to be like, I don't want to get wrecked out early on, and they'll decide to kind of just hover around certain areas of the track. But looks like Garrett and Jason and Matthew, those guys are always up front in these races, so I expect them to be up here for a while until something happens. They do tend to, one thing that I have kind of picked up on them is they tend to pit a little bit earlier than what you should on the first pit stop, and that gets them off cycle. And that's kind of what makes a difference. Some guys may have picked up on it here, some guys may have not. We'll just have to see if they have.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's how it's going to go. I mean, you can see the guys that were up in the front, they're actually moved out of line, went to the back to see if they can save a little bit more fuel. That might come into a factor, seeing how far you can make a full fuel run go, because the guys that are out front, like Garrett Maines and Matthew Baker, they're burning the most fuel. Everybody behind them, they can check up a little bit and not be on the gas as much. You're going to see the guys that are 4th, 5th, and 6th saving the most gas, staying out there a little bit longer than everybody else. But that's kind of not what you want to have happen, considering, it is a plate track. You're going to need the draft help. Now, how many guys do you want to have go down in the pit road with you whenever that time does come? I mean, me personally, I'd rather have a less crowded pit road than a super crowded pit road, but it's just it's always about give and take going into pit road, and that's going to be the deal breaker for a lot of these guys.
Got one thing to add on to the pit road. You want to come down with a pack. You don't want to be down pit road alone. You need to, you can maybe come down with 3 other people. I'd say would be the minimum I try. But if you can get really 8 to 9 to 10 cars to come with you, that's pretty optimal because it's just the draft factor. The more cars you have in front of you, the more that air is just cutting, flowing over, and then falling back down your spoiler and picking up right on the hood of the truck behind you, and that's just going to keep on creating speed. Every truck you have is maybe 1 to 2 miles an hour faster. So you want to have the numbers. You just don't want to. You do not want to pit with nobody else coming down with you. So that's why teammates here early on, if you can find somebody that'll come down with you, that will definitely help your chances of winning.
Oh yeah, I mean that's how it's gonna happen. I mean, you know what they always say, especially at Talladega or any race, everybody is your best friend until that final lap. Once that final lap is here, gloves are off. It's every man for himself. So you're definitely going to see maybe possibly, the 5, the 31, and I believe it is the father of Garrett Maines, the 18. Maybe all 3 of those guys will stick together, but I don't know necessarily if they would if it came down to a father-son who's going to win. Maybe Garrett will pull out and get the win from his dad, or maybe the father will show the son, like, hey, I can still do this. But it's all going to come down to the final lap. You definitely want to have those best friends like you were talking about. Like, when me and you raced together, I knew I wanted you behind me because I knew you wouldn't force the issue. And you just want to kind of run the race how it wants to run. And we already have green flag pit stops on lap number 8.
So I talked about these guys always tend to do this off cycle. I think some of them have caught on. So when Jason and Garrett come down pit road, that's when you want to pit. So they would have had to pit, they go about 20-ish laps. So I think this might actually be a 2-stop at this point. I believe. I'm not completely sure. Don't want to be jumping the gun, but I think that's what this is going to be now. Let's see how long these guys stay out. I think they might try to run their fuel empty. Now the fuel could have been changed. I'm not completely sure as this seat now has hurt. I might have to get the cushion behind it. Gosh, this thing is painful. But see, looks like, yeah, these guys are on and off pit road. One guy that looks like he's actually in the middle of nowhere right now is Ambrose. He has no one in front of him and nobody behind him. He has absolutely zero help, so he's going to need a caution or something to help him get caught back up here. As these guys, they're going to pit 1 lap after Jason and Garrett came down pit road that group they have. So it looks like they're going to bring a pretty even number group with them. So we'll have to see how good they can get in and off pit road. Looks like nobody was spinning their tires. Nobody kind of locked them up. We'll have to see. Here looks like everybody.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry about that.
It looks like everybody got in there pretty fine. So it looks like no issues so far. Well, 78 is going to have a bad exit. He's actually going to have to back up. So that might ruin the chance of the 78. That was J.R. Miller. He got too close to the wall. He's still not fixed. Yeah, so he'll probably go a lap down here the way he's gotten into his pit. So that's mistake 1 of tonight for drivers coming down pit road.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing. When you're going, I believe pace speed or pit road speed is like 55 to 65 mile an hour. And when you got to get hard on those brakes to get into your stall, you have the risk of sliding the tires. And that's what happened to that number 78 machine of J.R. Miller. And I've done it plenty of times. And it is the worst feeling as a racer to ever have. You have a great pit entrance. and a great pit exit, but it's just getting into your pit stall is the deal breaker. Like, you're banking on a great pit stop to have good track position, and you end up sliding the tires. And that, I mean, that is one of my biggest fears, especially at any track, especially if it does go green. That could make or break your top 5, your top 10, or even your podium spot.
Uh, at certain tracks, it's not too much of a deal breaker. Like if you were at like a normal oval, you can bounce back from that. But at super speedways, it's just too draft reliant that you will not be able to make up that time. You have to hope that a caution. And luckily, I don't think I've ever had that happen in a speedway race. I know I've done it in ovals multiple times, just trying to get in as deep. I about did it earlier, and I don't know how I didn't do it, but this is a track that you cannot make any mistakes on pit road, because once you're left out to dry, you have to hope that you can find somebody to really take you into their group, because you do not want to be running alone for very long at all.
Yeah, just like you say, you don't want to be alone. And I think the only person that's really banking on a caution right now is that number 04 of Ambrose. He had that little bit of net code with the number 60. He fell back off the pack, and now he's just kind of running laps, hoping and banking that these guys get a little bit of aggressive with each other. But watching this front pack, they're all single file. They're not trying to make any aggressive moves. They just want to ride, be relaxed, and just wait for the right time, the right opportunity to make a move one on another. And I mean, looking at it right now, Jason Maines is all over the back of the number 5 of Matthew Baker. Garrett's giving a little bit of room to the 7. And that's another thing that we got to point out to super speedway racing. You can't push the pusher. You see it happen a lot of the times, and the majority of the time it ends up breaking the guy in the middle of everything that's happening. So you definitely got to be careful on what you're doing, how you push, where to push. Like, especially at Talladega, you never want to really push through the tri-oval or the turns. You want to keep it on the straightaways. And a lot of people, they'll push along the turns, and sometimes it plays out pretty good to your advantage. Other times it ends up costing you a caution and possibly an EOL.
One thing drivers kind of have to be somewhat cautious about, like you said, is pushing the pusher. Now, one thing that really how this is supposed to lay out when you're at super speedways is, so the first guy, and of course he's going full speed. The job of the second guy is really, he'll get a run coming off the corner. He's the one that wants to push. The job of the third person's line is you want to get as close as you can, but there's really kind of an air bubble that you're really trying to shove off that rear end. You don't want to be touching him, because once you lift those rear tires up, that guy has absolutely no control. So that third vehicle in line is really trying to give that car in front of them a arrow shove off the corner to help him get that run to the first car in line. Not necessarily touching him. Now, if there is a big enough gap to the first car and the second truck says, yeah, you can lay it to me, that's when they're going to hit it. But his job is really just to shove the air of the guy in front of him when you're that third person in line. Third, fourth, fifth, you just don't want to shove the guy in front of you if he's hooked up to somebody else.
Yeah, that is kind of my biggest thing, especially running in various leagues and doing official races whenever they go to Daytona or Talladega. It is kind of hard judging the closing distance on separate cars, like the next gens. You have a pretty quick drafting distance. Like you can suck up to the back bumper of somebody, but you kind of got to back out of the throttle just a little bit so that way you don't hit the guy in front of you. I've caught myself doing it. I don't know how many times. It feels terrible when you do it, but at the same time, you try to check up, and sometimes you can't get to the brake fast enough, and it just spells disaster. But yeah, you definitely got to be cautious and kind of play it out in your head before you get up there to that person. Be like, hey, should I do this? Should I do that? How's it going to unfold if I do this? I mean, that's the stuff that's always going through my head, especially at a super speedway. It's one of my favorite type of racings, and it's just something that I constantly run through my head. Like, all right, just be cautious, be chill, don't do this. If I do this, I'll end up losing more spots than what I intend to lose, and then I have to try to regain all that time and speed back up, trying to get back up through the field.
That's kind of just one thing that comes from experience. I mean, you do a lot of it. We early on in our careers, like, we'd see a gap and we take it. Now we've gotten to the point we're looking in our rearview mirror, seeing where that car is. It's not even really at super speedway. It's really in any track, and we're like, if I don't get this pass done, I might lose 2 positions, three positions, might lose more than that. So sometimes drivers won't take the opportunity, and that kind of shows the maturity in iRacing. As super speedways, they're a track everyone is competitive, but you'll start to see the drivers that don't take the gaps that you see because they know what the consequences will be if they do it and it doesn't work out for them. And that applies to every single track on the circuit. It doesn't matter where you are, what car you're driving. You have to know, is this the best move? Gosh, Jason was moving around off of Garrett Maines there through the trial. I think they might have got a little bit of a touch there. That almost went bad for both of them.
Yeah, that number 7 is all over the back bumper. That number 5 as well. He did get a little bit too close for comfort a couple laps ago, but looking at the number 7, he's got a little bit of front end damage. It's not really affecting him just now, but that's another point that we got to bring up that we haven't really seen yet was the damage that these trucks could take, and that's when you want that damaged truck that has maybe not even really down on horsepower or anything like that. You'll want that guy pushing you instead of leading the pack.
Because any amount of damage. Luckily, one pet peeve that I have with some of these vehicles, especially in the trucks and Xfinity, you get a little amount of damage, and it's like a parachute is released. Now the next gens, luckily, they have fixed that problem. The only thing that's really breakable on those are toe links, and most of the time you have to hit those pretty hard. But in these, you get just a little bit of damage on the front end. You are already in the hole, and that damage cannot be fixed. But one common thing is that I will see in most of these races, looks like it hasn't happened here quite yet, is a lot of the times you'll see the front end of these trucks with their nose kind of smashed in just from bump drafting people a little bit too hard, but that hasn't happened quite yet. Like I said, it may happen later in the race when drivers are saying, it kind of gets to a point. I've done it a couple of times in iRacing, and I'm like, we're turning it up. And I see the huge run. I'm going about 5 miles an hour, and I just lay it to them, and I hope that they can handle it. That's when damage will happen. We're not going to see it at this point in the race. They're getting close to halfway, so they'll lift if they get that big of a run on them right now. But later on, they will not lift at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, last year when I did a different league in the Gen 6 cars, it was playoff time. The first stage, I was nice, content, did what I needed to do. But later in the run, just like you said, I just took the gloves off and I said, whatever happens, happens. You got to have kind of that mentality. You got to be aggressive when you need to be. But the way that I was running it, it is a little too sketchy for my liking. And that's coming a lot from me, considering the moves that I like to put on people. But when I was doing it, I was just having fun. Brought a lot of guys with me, putting my car where it needed to be, where it shouldn't have been. And ended up getting a stage win out of it. So definitely got to do what you got to do in that case scenario. But, I mean, looking at it now, the 04 just got a little bit loose behind the number 19. Looked like he had to check up this little bit due to the 19 having a little bit of wiggle room there. But you just seen it was pretty much even. A lot of cars on the high side, a lot of cars on the inside. And now everybody's fanned back down to the inside.
Drivers are going to want to run in a line now, going side by side like this. Luckily, they have a gap. They really got 03's going to close that gap real quick, but luckily they'll be able to tuck in pretty quickly if they do need to, and they'll be able to hold on to the group. I know this 19's probably like, I don't want to be up here necessarily, but it's not a bad thing for him. He's not really in any imminent danger. But while me and you were talking earlier, Larry McDonald had a crash. I didn't see really what happened because he immediately towed to the pits, so maybe a bump draft had gone wrong on him, but he is out of the race. Not a good night for him. I never want to see somebody out of the race early on, for sure, but that just happens every now and then. Nothing that drivers can do. Just bad luck strikes them here at super speedways. It looks like super speedways, in my mind, is kind of a luck track. That's one reason I cannot stand them in real life. It's just, oh my gosh, you know the big one's gonna happen. You just got to put on your best Jeff Gordon impression. As Gordon, when I watched him, I never understood how that man made it through the wrecks that he did. It was ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I could attest because I was a big Jeff Gordon fan, and it just me. I love play track racing. I love the mile and a halves. I love the short track. Some of them, Martinsville, not a fan, but it's just with the experience that myself and you have. We know what works. We know what doesn't work. We know what the risks are that we take. And, it's kind of just like real life racing. You guys at, like, let's say Gateway in the actual Cup Series, you see what happened when guys try to overdrive the corner. They slid up, got on the wall, they chastain themselves. And, it just, you got to give and take where give and take is needed. Me, I like going a full throttle, want to get to the front, get out front, and just try to pull away. Granted, at a plate track, you don't really want that to happen. You need those people in the back. But, like, when I do the 87s, especially, love the 87s. The cars, greatest cars ever on this service. You got to lift a little bit going into these corners where, with the trucks right now, they're not lifting at all. The 87s, you try to go into the corner about 230 mile an hour, that back end is going to come out and try to tail slap you in the front. And, it's just, you got to know how to get through the corners no matter what kind of car you're in. You got to know what line to take. Can't be, super aggressive. And you got to match the run with what you got. You don't want to dive it into a corner having to hit the wall or anything like that. But, yeah, I think about maybe lap 40 is when we're going to see a lot of these people get a little bit more aggressive than what they are right now.
Everybody, not surprised that they have become pretty cautious, but while these guys are going around, I'm going to take a very, very quick commercial break to check something right here.
Got like 10.
All right, and we are back. Just had to turn off something there that was giving me notifications in the lower right corner. And yep, pit stop. So perfect timing with that commercial apparently. But everybody in this front pack will come down. Maybe some brake bias adjustments. Look, see, somebody definitely did get a little bit of smoke. Some might have gotten a little bit more aggressive if somebody has just disappeared. That is Ambrose. He's still hoping for a caution. That'll leave Eshelman. These guys will come down right behind Baker's. Not really Baker's. I just say Garrett. I say the mains are Baker's group because that's what these two main drivers are that I see most time here in HSR when they do have the races. They're familiar faces for sure. As yep, we got somebody spinning on pit road. That's the 21 of Brian Bassett. It's like he just got too aggressive. Looks like he probably wheel hopped the way his truck slid. It doesn't look like that was a brake thing, just from how sideways he was.
Yeah, that's that was what we were talking about. But if you notice there, Bryce, right when we came back from commercial, you see how everybody spread out, gave each other room. Nobody ran over everybody. And that's the staggering that I was talking about. You seen Garrett, he took the way outside. It looked like Matthew Baker took all the way down by the wall. And when I'm pitting, especially at a plate track, I'm always relaying to my team or whoever I'm racing with that I'm not in Discord with. I always say, hey, I'm pitting this time. I'm going to go all the way down to the wall. This is where I'm braking at. Don't run me over, please. It just having a plan thought after really does go a long way. And, especially with the 21 spinning, getting into pit road, that's kind of going to hinder his chances. But, I mean, he's going to have the lead pack with him whenever they get back to him. So it's not like he's going to be out there all by himself until they get their first caution.
With me on really any track is what I've kind of noticed is the sets that I run. It's actually one of our sponsors, Team Watson Racing. Use code WATTSSPIN 39 for 5% off. The builder likes to set his brake bias pretty aggressive to the rear sometimes they don't. But even in fixed stuff, I'm one person who is extremely cautious getting on pit road, getting into my box because I don't want to be making a mistake. I'll give up a second sometimes because I'm not somebody who gets in there super deep. Now, if it's late in the race and I know I have to push, that's when I'll get in there very deep and I'll actually be speeding coming in and then I'll give it back on pit road. But I'm not somebody who gets in there very aggressive because I just think that that time penalty that you have to get of coming back down pit road is not worth the extra mile an hour or 5 miles an hour, you are over for me. So I'm someone who's always cautious. Some of these guys will be super aggressive. I know some guys will just completely send it in there and just hope that they slow down in time. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm not somebody who will take that or take that chance when it's given to me.
Yeah, I mean, so, talking about brake bias and all that. So when I run the 87s here at Talladega, I put my brake bias up. I put more forward brake bias than rear brake. So, it starts out about 52%. I'm down in the 45s. And, it's a little sketchy, especially with spongy brakes, but it works sometimes. Other times, you gotta kind of really play American Ninja Warrior with your steering wheel, trying to get the thing back straight. But, it's just all personal preference, feel, how you like your brakes. And I mean, with the next gens, you got to move them up as well. With the trucks, you move them back, you move them forward. It's just something that everybody does different, And if we do have a late race caution or even no caution and just a late race pit stop, that last pit stop could make or break, like I said earlier, your whole race. We've seen the top 8, 9 guys, they get in there pretty fluently. So this is called the money stop now. If we have another pit stop, I'm not sure if they will. Pretty sure they can make it now. You could see who got in there a little bit too aggressive and who did.
See, I know we saw some smoke from some drivers, but really this whole race has basically been just one big pack running together. You see Kerry Whitaker, everybody else back here's. So you got a pack of 3 and then a pack of 3 also. So these guys didn't pit with them. That might have been probably a mistake. Is Garrett all over Jason. One thing I'm surprised too is actually something that I've saw, and somehow this has not happened to me. I've saw some guys actually blow up, pushing so hard, and I didn't think that was possible in these fixed setups. I know now it's really not possible with the next gens now, but I think that one thing that they get is that, like you kind of said earlier, that front end damage that kind of beats in that radiator. It makes it run a little bit hotter, and we'll see some engines that expire. Luckily, doesn't look like anybody's got damage so far. I know in the next, or not next gens, the Gen 6 was more common, mainly because of the tape option, as I was somebody who would have the car blinking on the straightaways because I wanted all the downforce possible, and then it would cool off down the backstretch. But that's been remedied. But I've been surprised that actually, I believe last week there is an engine that expired right in the front of the pack, and that was something I didn't see happen. He blew up, then catastrophe happened behind him. Hopefully we don't see that here tonight. I don't want to see anybody's engine expire and wipe out people's chances.
Yeah, I actually just did a next gen Daytona race on a league that I run, and I didn't have any front end damage, but I was just pushing the car in front of me for so long. My temp for my engine temp went up skyrocket. Yeah, I was in the red. I was blinking. I actually had to dip out of line, go to the rear, let the car cool down before I could even try to make my spots back up. And that is one thing that you really got to pay attention to is your engine temp. If you're like, let's say Garrett Maines, he's all over the back of that number 18, but you see there, he's given a little bit of room. Now, when it gets to the, final lap, turn 3 and 4, he's going to use that cooler engine temp to make a good run on his father in the number 18. Now, if he was all over the back bumper, he wouldn't be able to get that good run coming up off the corner. He'd pretty much stall out as soon as he left that pack down on the inside.
I don't know, Iris, includes real life stuff. I do know that watching Mid-Ohio race where Team Henderson won, because that's a local team to me. Now, Iverson probably hasn't implemented this, but if this was pretty much like real life, like car for car, the engines get hot, they'll actually start to detune themselves because the internals just get way too hot for them, so they'll actually start to lose power. I don't think they do in iRacing. I do know that some things will hurt them every now and then, but you'd never want to see, which if they had like check engine lights here, I would say you don't want to see your dash light up like a Christmas tree, because once it lights up like that, that is when you got to sit there and you're like, oh no, this is not good. But for them, they'll just see something blinking on their dash, and then it'll say oil. Really, one thing that it's common is more water most of the time, I believe. I don't think it might be oil. Might have those backwards. I know one of them tends to get hotter than the other. I'm not sure which one that is. If you can clear that up for me, I think it's water temperature because it's the radiator in the front.
I think it is, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't driven the trucks in so long. I'm trying to go back to photo memory, I guess you could call it, just try to see what it was. I can actually try to find it really quick. Is it up on the top? I think it's the water.
Believe it may be. Pretty sure it is the water now that I think about it.
Top left is water, then right underneath that is the oil gauge.
I know the oil is kind of pretty hard to get that hot. You really have to, I mean, you won't really get oil. I mean, if it's hot, then you've absolutely just destroyed your whole car. It's really the radiators these guys have to worry about. I think the 31 doesn't have to worry about either of those. He's keeping enough of a gap to where it's letting that cool air flow right to his engine.
Yeah, that's going to be the make or break. I mean, the 5's doing the same thing. The 24's doing the same thing as well. And the 60, they're all giving each other room just to have a good run. As the number 60 actually is going to take the run, move to the outside. He's going to do a little bit of a side draft. And, you know, I'm very skeptical about doing side drafting in the trucks because the net code on the trucks is something so huge. And it could really not work out to your advantage. The 60 was able to get a good side draft on that, looks like number 13 machine, able to get around him, but now he's going to keep it to the outside and hopefully drop back in line, and he does. But, you know, with the side draft, especially in the trucks, the net code is unpredictable. And, you know, being on iRacing, you're always going to have net code no matter what kind of car, what track you're on. You just hope that it doesn't happen when you're battling with another driver for the race lead. I know I've had it happen to me before, and I've gotten really mad, but then I calmed myself down after I watched the replay, said, oh, you know, hey, sorry about, you know, blowing up on you. I watched the replay. You know, all is fair, all is good. And it's just like the 60 and the 04 earlier in the race. They had a little bit of net code. You can tell when you have net code happen, the truck will jump up in the air like not a normal hit. Whereas if I were to rub your door, it would just kind of draw you to me. Your whole right side or left side of the truck will just hop up in the air like you just hit a little kicker or something. And it's definitely not a fun feeling if you hit it in the right spot.
Yeah, net code. Pretty much the enemy of some people is actually somebody kind of, if you watch the main ad, which is the Ghost Racing Network one, actually the clip with Jeffrey Vickery last season that was at Chicagoland, I was actually right behind that wreck. You could literally fit 2 cars between those guys. Net-coded Vickery, he killed the wall, and we were all like, yeah, he was absolutely nowhere near, and we could see the huge gap, and we were all so confused. So netcode can bite a lot of these guys. Some days it's worse than others, some days it's not. They've not really found a fix for it. I don't know if they really care to fix it. I know it's probably a hard thing to do, but there's some times that it can be absolutely horrible and end a lot of guys' races, sadly for them.
Oh, yeah, and I can assure you, I was in that race. I actually pushed Jeff Vickery to the race win that night. I told him I wasn't going to pass him. I'd push him. The same thing happened to me and Brock Whitehead. On the second to last lap, I'm all the way down on the inside. Brock tried side drafting. We had half of a car in between me and Brock, and he ended up net coding off of me. So net code is definitely a real thing. I hate to see it happen to anybody that is racing clean with me. You know, it just I hate it when it happens to me. It's just something that does happen in iRacing. You know, there isn't really a fix. You know, somebody could have a really high ping or not good connection out there on track, and that could really result in your race being ruined.
Everybody up front decided to have a big choo-choo train on the bottom. Everybody's running the bottom right now. I know Jeff, he kind of kept on peeking out, but he's not getting anybody to go with him, so it didn't hurt him, but he was trying it. I think maybe within 5-ish laps, you'll see him start to kind of venture up there a little bit more. But for right now, he's going to stay tucked in. But we will actually go on board with Jason, Garrett, and Matthew here for one lap around the track, just so you can see the different perspectives of how these guys are having to drive. As we got pit stops, so we got some guys, actually, as soon as I was doing that, some people are going down pit road. That was Alex Hill's come down, so maybe he's trying to pit early here. Just about to
Yeah,
get on board. I didn't expect that.
yeah, I didn't expect. I figured, these guys were good to make it on field the rest of the race. And if you notice, those guys actually pit before Garrett Maines and company did. So maybe Garrett and those in this 5-car draft maybe have taken a little bit of note, like, hey, yeah, maybe we can't make it. When do you guys want to pit? Do you want to take a later pit, run the field out so we have less fuel to put in, or would you pit now and hope for the better and not take tires? I mean, I've seen everybody in this lead pack, every single pit stop, take 2 tires or 4 tires, and there they go. They're all going to elect a pit. They're all staggered out. Nobody's overdriving into pit road.
Oh, we got a 60 drift
60.
in Tokyo.
Oh, ooh, Garrett Maines just got ran into by, it looks like, the number 24. Didn't really affect him, though. He was able to keep it straight, not go into the grass. But that could be a disastrous pit stop for everybody that ended up getting a little bit of damage from it.
Drivers getting all they can for sure. Saw some Tokyo drift there. Everybody was luckily able to hold on to it, as that could have been very, very bad. And those guys are going to be taking really maybe 2 tires and fuel, get out and away. Looks like that actually didn't hurt anybody that came in that group. You see Kerry Whitaker, Ron Morris Jr., and Daniel Eshelman coming down pit road. These guys need a caution for, or really to be able to get back up with these guys. As I was trying to look at Discord here. So Dylan, if you can take over for maybe about like a minute before I respond to this person here.
Yes, sir, I can do that. As we're looking here. It looks like Jason Maines and Garrett, along with the number 60 of Jeff and Matthew Baker, a little bit of a 4-car pack, were able to get out of pit road nice and easily, able to keep that 4-car pack. Garrett's got a little bit of rear end damage, but it doesn't look to be affecting him. But right behind these guys, Kenneth McCullough, in that 03 Chevy, able to keep a little bit of a distance between these top 4. He's got the 19 behind him, but a little bit further back, we have the number 24 of David Stryker. So they have a 2-car breakaway with just these 2 guys. So maybe these guys will hook up with the 19 and the 03, push them up to the lead 4. And yeah, if right now with 9 laps to go, it's kind of go time. But it's kind of be chill and conservative as well. Don't really want to overdrive the car. Don't want to do any stupid maneuvers. Just want to kind of keep it nice and subtle and make that big run to the outside or the inside with 1 or 2 laps to go, as the 24 and the number 7 of Alex Hill have caught the 19 and the 03. So we have a 4-car breakaway and another 4-car breakaway. It looks like the 19 was looking on the outside, able to keep it back in, tucked it back in underneath the number 03, and they're possibly going to get a good run up to these top 4. Now, what does the 03 do? Does he take the run that he has, or does he just wait, run with the 8-car pack, get a good run, bring these 4 cars with him, and go to the outside? And it looks like the 60 is on the inside of Matthew Baker. He's going to give a big shot to the number 18. And there we go. We're back to 2 wide racing. Garrett Maines has Matthew Baker on his back bumper. And that just brought up from a 4-car breakaway up to an 8-car breakaway. You got 5 cars on the inside, 3 cars on the out. But it looks like the outside is the way to go. Now it's going to be 4 on 4. Garrett Maines might be able to lead this lap. It's going to come down to the wire, and it is Garrett Maines that ends up leading that lap. So credit Garrett Maines for leading the lap. And, he's got Matthew Baker all over his back bumper. The 19 is giving a little bit of room to the number 60. He realizes, hey, I can't push the number 60 machine. He's right on the back bumper of the 18. I don't want to wreck anybody that I know that I want to be able to work with. But you know, it looks like the 24 is going to push them 3 wide, so the 19 is going to be stuck in the middle. The 24 is going to advance. He's going to get a 2-for-1. Now it's down to a 5-car breakaway
This might be
as
bad for
the
that 19.
03.
Look at his damage. You see that little... He has just a little bit of damage on that right side. So he does not want to lose the draft. It's not a lot, but a lot, or just a little bit of damage at the super speedways as a parachute. As I'm not sure where he's gotten that from, but he's gotten just a little bit of damage. So he might not be the best leader if he's trying to lead this outside lane, as it looks like he's trying to do that. So this might be tough for Kenneth McCullough Jr. and J.R. Miller to really... that is J.R. Miller this race. He's lapped down. Forgot about that, but 19's making it work so far. 3 wide mains on the middle and the bottom. They got Matthew Baker. Matthew will work with the mains. He always races with them at tracks like this. But see, J.R. Miller, he could kind of be a factor here. He can decide to shove somebody. The 19's now gone to the lead. I'm surprised, but with this damage, I don't know if he can hold it there. It looks like Jason, or sorry, not Jason. That was Jason. Jason Maines went right up in front of his son, Garrett, to get that lead, as Jeff looks like he's going to try to give the 19 a shove. The 24 on the bottom, McCullough. He'll duck back in behind it. They almost turn each other through the tribal. That's where the trucks want to get loose. They start to unload. Shove gone bad. Luckily, nobody was turned. That would have taken out a lot of these guys up here. They keep it straight, though.
Yeah, I mean, you just seen the rocket ship from the number 19. With a little bit of damage, he was able to make that high side work. He did a bit of a gutsy move, though, going from the way top down to the inside, able to get the lead. Wasn't sure if he was able to lead that lap, but, I mean, he's still in contention for getting the lead back as he's pushing the 18 of Jason back up to the front. Now, what does Jason do? Does Jason move up top to help his son pull himself and the 5 of Matthew Baker ahead of this number 19, or does he just stay behind and stay in front of the 19 and have the 19 push him in front of Garrett again and just see if they can get that inside rolling the way it was? And now we're back to 3 wide. The 03 and the number 78 are 3 wide with the number 60 and the 5. And the 24 is going to move from the inside to the middle. And they're still 3 wide going down the backstretch.
They're trying it now. See, Eshelman's probably looking at this show that he's got back here. He's hoping that they don't wreck. Now, if they do wreck, he's actually... No, he's not the lucky dog. He's around the 78, but he's kind of watching here. He's like, this is kind of where the lap truck is just like, I don't know what to do here. As I've been in that position sometimes, you're like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. Just doesn't want to get taken out. But the 03 is making that a high line work. It's pretty much 3-on-3 right now. Pretty even through all these lanes. This is a fair battle. One thing that this very top lane has to be careful with, though, is getting up in the marbles. You wouldn't think there's marbles on this track, but if you get too close to that wall will grab you and not let you go, as they have to pretty much like super glue. You got to pull your truck off of it, and that's when I've actually saw some wrecks happen. Drivers try to pull their vehicle off the wall and down, and everybody else below them doesn't care, and the whole pack is around. Hopefully that does not happen, as the 03 got a little bit offset from the 78 of J.R. Miller. I thought he was going to get touched right there. You don't want to get offset. You want to be able to hit him pretty square, as these trucks do have the benefit of pretty much universal flat front ends in the Xfinity and the next gens. The Chevys are probably one of the worst super speedways because they have that pointed front end. The Toyotas are not as bad, but the Fords shine at those. Luckily in the trucks, you can pretty much shove with the front ends being the same across all these vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, the way that these guys are racing right now, they're 3x3x3, and they're keeping it so clean. They're giving each other so much room. It's kind of like the Talladega race where you had a Hendrick car with another Hendrick car then you had RCR in Stuart Haas Racing. They came out of nowhere, was able to get around the Hendricks cars of Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon. And this is how this race ended up being a couple of years ago, before we went to the next gens and I believe it was the Gen 6. They ended up, granted, Jimmy and Jeff were out to a marginal lead, but everybody else caught them, and it was one of the finishes to remember, as it looks like the 60 is going to upchuck the number 03. He's going to take it to the outside. He's going to possibly take the lead. Not going to have the good enough run, but now they're starting to pinch each other just a little bit. The 03 almost got to the side of the number 24, and Jeff Merck able to lead that lap. He's going to go from the top to the middle, and he's going to have the number 5 behind him. Now he's going to drop down in front of Garrett. And the 18 and
Oh, we
24
got to,
together.
oh, they're save it. No, they're still wrecking the 24. Able to hold on to it. I have no idea how they just did that. They stay green. They may have taken some drivers out of contention there. I don't know how they didn't wreck, because a 60 throwing a block on Garrett. Garrett's trying to look everywhere. He goes outside. Oh, gosh. Now, this is not where you want to be. The 6 is going to be set up for a pass on the outside. Everybody's going to run the train on him. But look at the split now. The 03 and the 78 of J.R. Miller decide to go and help the 60 of Jeff Merck. But I know that Matthew will stay on Garrett's bumper and give him all the shove that he can. See, his bumper is actually kind of beat in from getting hit from behind so hard. But one more time around here at Talladega, Jeff Merck, Kenneth McCult, and Matthew Baker are in contention. Jason Maines has worked his way back up to these guys, so maybe he can pull out something here to take home the win, but this is going to be down to the line, I think, the way these guys are running currently right now. Out of 1 and 2, pretty even. Garrett's going to get a run on the 6. He's going to try to get a side draft. You see these guys work together. These top 3 guys on that top lane all run these races. They don't care who wins. They just want to split the money. They don't want to wreck each other for position, and they're going to be shoving extremely hard as Garrett Maines has gone in front of the 60 of Jeff Merck. That leaves Matthew Baker and Jason Maines on the outside. Jeff Merck's going to have no choice but to shove Garrett because he's blocked in by that 5. That 5 is going to get a pretty good run out of 3 and 4 with Jason shoving him. The 78 is going to come and help. Jason also through the trial. They're going to be side by side. Garrett Maines on the bottom, getting a shove from Merck. Matthew Baker, Jason Maines, they're wrecking at the line. It's going to be Matthew Baker, and Garrett Maines holds on, and he comes home 5th. Almost wrecks, but Jason, or not Jason, yes, Jason. Wait, oh, what? Oh, was this? Oh, sorry, yes, Matthew Baker. I don't want to say Jason. Matthew Baker comes home with the win tonight. Might have said the wrong driver at the line just looking at the finish, but that was a crazy finish there. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that was really crazy. I mean, the 60 was going for broke there. Got the 31 loose. One hell of a drive from the 31 to keep it straight, especially at a plate track. You know, you get a little bit loose. You got to play with the wheel just a little bit, try to get the car straight. But Garrett Maines is that man. He knows how to wheel these things. He does this thing for a living, you know, over on the iRacing channel on YouTube. He does this stuff for a living. He knows what to do. And he saved that truck from pretty much coming back up the track and taking out the field. But that finish was one to remember, as, you know, the 60 was in prime position just to finish P3 or maybe even 4th. Ended up coming around for P number 5.
He decided to kind of gamble in it. Didn't really work out for him, but didn't hurt him too much either. I think Garrett doesn't look like he's too mad. He's actually doing a burnout, so he's doesn't seem like he's too furious about that. So is Jason. They're going to join him in the burnout also. It's like, oh, he almost touches the wall there. That was a crazy finish for sure. Matthew Baker looks like he's now logged out. We'll actually go and watch that finish because I want to see what happened coming down to the line. That was a crazy finish for sure. I think Garrett got a little bit loose in the trial. Might have gotten lifted in the 76. Looks like a little bit of a wiggle. Didn't mean to do that there. I think I had a little bit of a wiggle coming through the trial. We'll have to see. Keep on hitting the wrong button. Keep on hitting back live when I meant to hit go slower. So we'll actually look here. I think Garrett might get, he comes offset a little bit, and I think that, let me look, you're going through the travel here. You see Matthew has a huge run on the outside. I just want to see, did Jeff make contact with Garrett? Oh yeah, he looks like he did from this view. Yeah, Jeff hooked Garrett. Garrett luckily doesn't wreck that though, as he is basically completely sideways. I thought he might have, yeah, that truck should have been in the wall. But Matthew Baker comes home and takes it as they're basically, oh my gosh, they're 4 wide for 3rd place coming across the line. That is absolutely insane. I don't know how those guys did not wreck. I wish I had a photo finish actually do. That is a finish for the ages here. I have to slow it down, get the right point on it. They are so close to wrecking each other. Surprised that they didn't. There he is. I will slow this down even more. You can see him come across the line right there. They were 4 wide for that position. They were all gunning for it, but it was Matthew Baker who took it home, so that he's going to be definitely happy with that. No, Garrett Maines might be a little bit furious, but he won't hopefully be too angry because at least his father gets some money. I think that it's only top 3 tonight, maybe top 5. I'm not completely sure. I know that they change every now and then. But I'll have to wait for some of these guys to get in the booth as they're actually already in here. So we will bring in the 3rd place finisher of Jeff Merck. Hey Jeff, this
Who
is
would-
Bryson Dillon in the booth. You got a copy, man?
What's up, man? How's it going?
Man, so that was a crazy finish. You come home third. Tell me what was going through your mind coming to the checkered flag there, man.
I was just trying to break them guys up. I mean, that's the only way you're gonna finish inside the top three is you got to break them up. Because if you don't, they're gonna run away with it. They're gonna control both lines if you let them. I mean, I don't understand. People will just follow them hoping to finish fourth or fifth instead of trying to break them up and win the race. But uh, I'm not going to do that. I mean, I'm going to try to break them up any opportunity I get. I'm going to try to get them separated. Uh, you know, that was my whole intent tonight was to try to keep them separated because that's the only way you're going to finish inside the top three.
Yeah, just coming through travel, I saw a little bit of offset. I was like, yep, there goes a little bit of contact, and it wasn't even much. I mean, Garrett actually saved that. I was surprised, but I knew that coming to the line, it was definitely gonna get racy, and I'm not surprised that it was a finish
Yeah.
like that. Y'all were actually, you were 3 wide for third place, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not sorry, not 3 wide, 4 wide for it because
Right.
Garrett was able to save it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was a finish for third for sure. So that was definitely interesting to watch.
Yeah, well, their strategy is always finish 1, 2. They don't care about any other positions other than those two because that's where the most money's at. So if so, that's what you got to do is you got to try to break them up, and if you stay behind them, they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna win every race if you don't. And these guys that run with them are gonna have to start to understand the only way you're gonna beat those guys is you got to break them up. You got to it's that team against everybody. So that's the way, that's the mindset that has to be going forward. Because if you don't, you're going to finish fourth every night, and that's not where the money's at. The money's up front.
Yeah, just certain things have to be done. But before I let you go, is there anybody you want to thank, any sponsors you want to shout out that may have been watching the stream here tonight?
Yeah, all my teammates over at Bandit Motorsports. We wear red on Fridays. Is remember everyone deployed. That's the paint on this truck. Scott Patented Paints. If you want to get paint, go look up Scott. I mean, he does a bang up job on the paints. Guys over at HSR, the admins, they do a good job. So it is what it is. I think that's everybody. Virtual Talladega. So, I mean, I'm going to race hard all the way to the line. If others don't want to do that, then they can be pissed off. I don't care.
All right, man. Well, I will let you go. Good third place finish tonight.
All right, man. See ya.
As that was Jeff Merck, the third place driver. We will bring in the father of Garrett Maines, as in Jason Maines, as I have people in the chat asking about producers, how can you guys cover races? As if you all will actually go to Ghost Racing Network on Facebook, message me. I will take the time to do that. I will actually maybe provide you the link because right now I'm got to go through these interviews, but we'll bring in Jason now. Enough dilly-dallying, so we'll bring in Jason. Hey, Jason, this is Bryson Dillon in the booth. You got a copy, man?
Yes, sir.
Man, so that was a crazy finish. They were actually 3 wide behind, or actually not 3 wide, 4 wide behind you. But man, what were your thoughts? Coming to the checker flag, especially coming out of 3 and 4. Like, what was your plan, or were you just kind of comfortable riding where you were?
My plan was to get Baker pushed up there, so we go 1, 2, 3, and that seemed like that was going to work out. But somebody else had a little bit different plan, I think.
Yeah, I saw Garrett was actually. I'm surprised he was actually able to save that, but I think Jeff just got a little bit offset, and then that kind of lifted the rear end of Garrett off of it. He actually was coming 4 wide for 5th, and I was like, oh gosh, that man is going to probably junk the field. But of course, your son, I mean, he's a coke driver for a reason for sure, and I'm not surprised that he was able to save it. But that was definitely a crazy finish. I know that. Once I saw you, Garrett, and Matthew in here, I actually told Dylan earlier, these guys race together so often that I was not surprised that you all were working together. That's just a common theme. Y'all do certain things that I picked up on also, but it's just something that y'all are incredibly good at racing here, man. But before I let you go, is there anybody you want to thank, any sponsors you want to shout out that may have been watching the stream here tonight?
As you know, I always thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Everything we do is for Him. That's why we're here. I got to thank Elliott Sadler Esports, Into the Apex, ChevyLiners.com, Bradley Mechanical and Lennox Industries, Matthew Baker, Garrett Maines, Andrew and Terrence for putting this on, and you guys for doing the broadcast. A lot of fun. Like I said, I get in here so I can race with my son, and I was actually laying down on the bed downstairs and decided to come up and race, and had a good time.
All right, man. Well, I'll let you go. Good second place finish tonight, but good job, man. Y'all are definitely fun to watch race here together.
Greatly appreciate that, guys. Y'all have a great evening.
As that was Jason Maines, we will bring in the race winner in Matthew Baker. Hey, Matthew, this is Bryson Dillon in the booth. You got a copy, man?
Yeah, I got you, Bryce.
Man, so that was a crazy finish behind you. They were 4 wide for third place, but man, what was going through your head coming out of 3 or 4, especially knowing that you had somebody who would work with you?
I think the whole last couple of laps jockeying for position was a ton of fun. I'm glad Jay was able to get back up to us so he could help us push on the top lane. I was kind of nervous there with it just being me and Garrett up top, but we made it work out for sure.
Yeah, I know that. You, Garrett, and Jason always work together, like I said, and I knew that once I saw y'all up here, I was like, yeah, these guys, the whole night, they're going to pit together, they're going to do stuff together, and y'all are pretty much, a unstoppable force is what it seemed to be, and I'm not surprised that you are there. I was like, yeah, this is probably going to be between Maines and Baker, and it was, of course, it was like that. Garrett actually almost got wrecked coming to the line. Luckily, he was able to save it, but man, you come home first night. I know you're absolutely rolling in money when you race with these guys. You guys really do it for fun, I know, but no, of course, when money's in it and you win it, that is not a bad thing to have as incentive at all. But before I let you go, is there anybody you want to thank, any sponsors you want to shout out that may have been watching the stream here tonight?
Just thanks to Coast and Thunder, Baker and Son Construction, MVG Motorsports, Warriors Wraps. Thanks to Jason and Garrett there, and Mark and Kenny there at the end. That was a lot of fun battling to the line. Glad everyone had clean pit stops. A lot of really good pit stops tonight. And thanks to the family watching back at home. Thanks for putting on the broadcast, and thanks to Taryn for putting on these races.
All right, man. Well, I'll let you go. Good first place finish tonight, man. Oh, actually cut him off there. I'll have to go back and see if I said Matthew Maines. I think I did. That would be the first time I've said that. But Dylan, what were your thoughts on the race here tonight?
I'm not gonna lie, I think that's the super cleanest plate race that I've ever witnessed. Like, yes, we had a few netcode issues or anything like that, but nobody really lost the truck. No cautions, 50 laps done in and done in pretty much record time. Normally at a plate track, you're gonna have the big one. It's not if you're gonna have it, it's when. And these guys being as patient as they are, not making those aggressive moves, show that this is why they do it. It's just like what Jeff said in his interview. The money's at the front. You got to do what you got to do to get up to the front. But that I would rank this race top 10, no matter what anybody else says. Top 10 of the best races to watch or be a part of, and that would be probably number 5 on my list. Because everybody's clean. It was just full of racing all over the track and just wicked saves all over in pit road or even down the backstretch or even in the dry oval. And that was a lot of fun to call.
Yeah, HSR's had a couple races where they go green, and they're actually, some races pretty calm. But one thing that I've noticed here is that these finishes are getting absolutely insane most of the time. They're not really wrecking. It's just drivers making moves that... No, I'd be like, I'm not doing that if it was an open. But, of course, this doesn't affect your IR or SR, which is I rating and safety rating. So drivers are like, you know what? Throw the caution in the wind, see what happens. I'll just stick my nose in there, and hopefully it'll work. But I will go over the finishing order here. First is Matthew Baker. Second, Jason D. Maines. Third, Jeff Merck. Fourth, Kenneth McCulloch Jr. Fifth, Garrett Maines. Get the Maines confused here. Sixth, David Stryker. Seventh, Austin Green. Eighth, Alex Hill. 9th, Ron Morse Jr. 10th, Kerry Whitaker. 11th is J.R. Miller. 12th, Denny Eshelman. 13th, Autumn Koger. 14th, Dalton Randolph. 15th, Ambrose Knebel. 16th, Brian Bassett. 17th, Michael Skeely. And 18th is Larry McDonald. Andrew was race control, so of course I'm not going to show him down there, but that was definitely a good race. I believe they'll be trying to put on a race tomorrow also. I think probably go on at 9, so that will probably be during some of the football games as my team has lost. Steelers fans, I can't do anything without TJ Watt, so I have tomorrow free. I'm a college student, so I'll probably be doing stuff related to that, but if you all are free, if you don't mind, just tune into that, and if you don't mind, throwing in a subscription to Ghost Racing Network, and of course, Core Racing Network, as that is where Dylan is from. He decided to hop in the booth here and help me, so my throat would not be dead. Luckily, I'm not even going to say that because it will probably be dead tomorrow, but it was definitely fun having Dylan in the booth. We have pretty good flow, but I will run this final ad, and I will let you all go. Hopefully, I will see you here tomorrow.